those will be coming around very soon, inshallah. So you can come over here. As a matter of fact, I'll sit like this. So while we are preparing and waiting for a few extra copies, the summary of last week, we discussed the first four comments of the four women that were talking about their husbands. General summary of the first comment was what? Yes, it wasn't easy to reach. It was like the camel's meat on top of the mountain, right? The second? Too much to talk about. Just if she starts, she has to keep talking, and she would have to mention all his internal or his faults that are zahiran and batinan, internal and external as well. The third one? Ashannaq. Right, the Ashannaq. He doesn't understand his wife at all. There's a statistic that I was told about, which is quite alarming, about a global statistic about wives, how much wives understand their husbands and how much husbands understand their wives. So this was a statistic that began in France. So the survey for like Japanese women and Chinese women was that usually 80% of the time or 85% of the time the wife understands the husband, and about the same husband understands the wife, right? And in some other countries it's like 70% for the wife and a little lower for the husband, right? But in some countries in the Middle East, the survey was that the wives understand their husbands 99% of the time, and the husband, this is an actual statistic, -3. -3. I didn't know statistics could go in the negative. This was a survey done in France. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. So the ashannaq, we have to strive to understand each other. That's life, communication problems and things, and everyone's different, and of course, he's throwing spice into the pot now. Yes, that would complicate understanding, definitely. If I speak, I'll get divorced, in antiq utallaq, in askut u'allaq. If I'm silent, I'm left hanging. And finally, the fourth lady, she says, my husband is like the night of Tihama, and we sort of talked about the region of Tihama. Not too hot, not too cold, right? I'm not afraid of him, and la makhafa wa la sa'ama, and I'm not bored with him. So now the fifth woman. Now, of course, I'll quote it in Arabic and then in English. So she says, قالت الخامسة, the fifth woman, she says, زوجي, my husband, إن دخل فهد. إن دخل, يعني دخل البيت. When he enters, when he arrives, when he comes in the house, fahid. What's the fahid? It's an animal. You will know the fahid. It's like a tiger, like a leopard. Yeah, like a leopard or cheetah. When he comes in the house, he becomes like a leopard. Okay? Or a cheetah. We'll explain in a second. وَإِنْ خَرَجَ أَسِد. And when he leaves the house, he becomes like asad. What's asad? Lion. He becomes lion-like when he leaves the house. When he comes in the house, he's leopard-like or cheetah-like. What does that mean? وَلَا يَسْأَلُ عَمَّا ahd. And he does not ask about the things that he entrusts me with. When he entrusts me with ahd, as a contract or a trust, when he entrusts me with something, he doesn't ask about it. Right? That's the fifth woman. So what does that mean? Well, she says when he comes in the house, he becomes fahid, becomes like a leopard or a tiger. The ulama of hadith have looked at this, and this has a couple of meanings. The fahid, the leopard, is to be leopard-like in the Arabic language here in the Jahili, in the old Arabic time, was a phrase to describe the husband that comes in the house and goes right to sleep. He just comes in and goes right to sleep, or he's extremely lazy, and he doesn't give any care or concern to the domestic matters or to the situation of the house. Doesn't help out, doesn't contribute, doesn't even care. Just goes right to sleep. And then that's it. So when he arrives, he comes in, he becomes like a fahid. Often also the fahid sits around a lot. So it's a reference for the husband that sits around a lot and sort of waits for things to happen and things going on in the house. He doesn't really care, pay much attention. He just waits for the next day. Enjoys his recliner, enjoys the shade, the fahid, the sits in the shade, or sometimes the leopard is up in the tree. You see, and the leopard that's up in the tree is sleeping on the branch in the shade of the tree. The cheetah, which also fahid could mean the cheetah. The cheetah is the fastest animal on the planet. It can run up to 80 miles an hour, subhanAllah. The cheetah runs a lot, but it gets tired quick too. It has to rest for long periods of time. So, the analogy is the husband that rips and runs outside the house, 80 miles an hour outside the house, and comes in, and he's just dead. No energy for the family, nothing. So when he arrives, when he enters, fahid. He becomes like fahid. وَإِنْ خَرَجَ أَسِدْ. But when he leaves the house, he's the roaring, charging lion. So he's not only brave, but he's dominant, and he's controlling, and he's the king. People admire him, and he controls and he commands. So on the one hand, there's this blatant contradiction between the state of the spouse, the type of spouse that's inside of the house, and the type of spouse that's outside of the house. So the presentation of the spouse in the public eye is one thing, but then the reality behind closed doors is another thing. That's the critique. That's the critique. Now, the ulama of hadith, the scholars of hadith, say these things, but then they're quick to say that this woman's comment here may be taken to mean those things if she intends to be critical. But it's very possible that she's being a bit cryptic, that she doesn't mean to be critical at all. These words could also be taken to be something very positive, because the fahid also plays with the young, is not violent with the young, plays with them. And so it could mean, she could be complimenting him by saying, in dakhala fahid, when he comes in, he's very playful and jovial and entertaining and forgiving with the family. But when he goes out, he's tough with people. So he's not tough with the family, but he has that characteristic. He doesn't roar in the house. He roars outside the house. In the house, he's very soft and very playful and very loving and very kind. He doesn't, flex his muscles and become intimidating. He doesn't become the king inside of the home. So it could be a compliment as well, particularly given the last part of this woman's statement, وَلَا يَسْأَلُ عَمَّا عَهِدْ. And he doesn't ask about the things that he entrusts, which could be something negative to mean he's neglectful. When he entrusts something, as he gives something to someone as an amana, he doesn't ask about it. He doesn't care about it. You know, the same aloofness and lax attitude about coming inside the house, and he doesn't care about it. But it could also be a compliment to mean that when he entrusts me with something, meaning when he entrusts her, the wife, with something, he doesn't see her as someone who's incompetent, who can't handle a task, and he knows his wife that she's going to get it done, and that's it. He doesn't have to ask about it. And their relationship is solid. There's a really nice story about one of the Sahabas who, a young woman, young Sahabiya, who wanted to get married. And she had two options, two men that the family was looking at. So one of them was a younger man around her age, like a contemporary, and the other suitor, the other gentleman who was interested in her, was older than she was. And so her father said, look at both of them and let's test both of them. So he invites the younger suitor in, who's the same age or similar age as his daughter, and the daughter is sitting in the back and she's listening. And he asks the young man, how would you treat your wife? Right. He said, I would take care of her, I would do this, I would do that. And then he says, well, what about when it comes to nafaqah, the financial matters? He said, well, this is a gift from Allah Ta'ala, and we're responsible to take care of these gifts, and if I give her something or entrust her with something, I have to go and ask her about it, and I'll check every single penny. Basically, he didn't say penny, but you know the meaning. I'll track every single transaction is the meaning of what he said. And I'll watch everything. So he says, okay, fine. The gentleman leaves and he looks at his daughter, and she looks at him, and she doesn't say anything. So then later, the older gentleman comes. He says, Assalamu alaikum, how are you? They get into a conversation. Yes, how would you treat, my daughter, etc. And then he asked him, how would you treat her with nafaqah? He said, every single morning, at the beginning of the day, I will take a bag and put her daily provision in the bag and put it next to her bed. And I will leave it for her. And I'll never ask her what she does with it or how she uses it. He looks at his daughter and she smiles. This is the one. So the point behind this comment here is the importance of trust between spouses. And oftentimes interrogation, or the constant habit, notice the word I'm using, the continuous habit of asking and almost tracking things when there is no need to, betrays that trust, it undermines that trust as well. There must be a healthy atmosphere of trust between both spouses, especially when it comes into the financial arenas, and also the ulama also say that, for example, if to use a contemporary modern example, if your wife needs something and you give her the debit card, for example, to go get something, and the item costs $50. So and she says, can I go take out $50? Says, yes. So if she takes out 60 or 80, khalas, that's your wife. You took out $51? 52? La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. We can't track pennies. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't deal with us like that. And Allah ta'ala is forgiving of the small things, the small mistakes that we do on a day-to-day basis. So we must deal with each other, our loved ones, with a certain degree of forgiveness and overlooking all kinds of things. So this is kind of what this lady's statement is saying as well. نعم. ولا يسأل عما أحد. نعم. Okay. The sixth woman. Yeah, you can pass these out too if anybody wants extras. Bismillah. Bismillah. The sisters have copies too? Khalas. If they don't. Khalas. They don't get any copies. Oh, Kevin, if you could, okay. Yeah, give. You got someone, are they upstairs? Or, oh, they outside the door? Khalas. Maybe one of the young men can go take those copies, inshallah. Okay. The sixth woman. She says, قالت السادسة. The sixth woman. زوجي, my husband. إن أكل سبحان الله إن أكل لف سبحان الله. When he eats, لف, he envelops the food. What's the, for the janazah, when you shroud, when you bury the mayyit, the deceased, what's that cloth called? Kafan. Kafan is right, there's another word. Lifaf. Lifaf. The lifaf is the cloth that wraps around. It's the kafan. It's also called lifaf. It wraps the mate, envelops it, because you wrap the person. Laffa. Laffa is to wrap around. So when he eats, laffa, he doesn't share. This is mine. You get your own. When shariba, and when he drinks, ishtaffa. He leaves the last little drop in the container. Drinks everything else but leaves a tiny, tiny drop. When it اضطجع التف. When he sleeps, he takes the blanket and the cover and wraps himself in it. This is the same word as laffa, but iltaffa is for you to wrap yourself up. So when he lies down, iltaffa, he curls up by himself, leaves her. Khalas, you get your own. Also, it means he's close to the blanket, not her. Right? He seeks his warmth from the cloth, not the wife. Right? Also is the meaning. And then she says, وَلَا يُولِجُ الْكَفَّ وَلَا يُولِجُ الْكَفَّ لِيَعْلَمَ الْبَثَّ. SubhanAllah. His hand, I'm going to translate it literally, and let your minds go for a second. Go to different places. وَلَا يُولِجُ الْكَفَّ. His hand does not penetrate. In other words, when he touches, let me just translate it. وَلَا يُولِجُ الْكَفَّ. His hand doesn't go through, doesn't penetrate. لِيَعْلَمَ الْبَثَّ. To learn about my grief and anxiety. His touch does not go past the surface to concern himself with what's wrong with me, is what she said. Beth is the word here that is really profound. Beth is deep down sadness and like depression and sadness and grief. So his touch is not a merciful touch. He touches, but it's a selfish touch. It's not a touch that is really concerned about what's bothering her and what's going on with her. This is the ultimate characteristic of selfishness. Selfishness in risk, in provision, in eating, in drinking, the lack of consideration. Selfishness in sleeping and resting and seeking warmth. And selfishness in intimacy. Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, separate text, talks about her, and she's the narrator of this hadith. She talks about her and Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam. And she says in a beautiful description, she said on one occasion when she was with the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, and they were sitting down, she said, I knew he was thirsty, so I poured some milk for him. And she says, and I gave it to him. I offered it to him. And then she said, he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, you first. And she said, no, la ya Rasulullah, no ya Rasulullah, you first. And then he said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, you first. And she said, no ya Rasulullah, you first. And he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, no, you first. And he, hold this for a second, like you're holding it to me. And he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam took it and did like that, and he helped her drink. So she drank from it, radiyallahu ta'ala anha. She drank, then she offered it to him. Now here's the most profound, this is the text, this is the hadith text. She offers it back to him, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He takes it from her and turns it to the place where she drank from. And she said, radiyallahu ta'ala anha, he put his lips on the place where my lips had touched, and he drank. Look at that. If there were such a thing as Islamic, Shari'i romance between husband and wife, that's it. Things like that. He didn't just drink. No, even in his drinking, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he was concerned about a gesture of closeness and intimacy with his wife. Those things, sometimes those things are profound. Many times our wives give us a plate or a cup, or we may give them, or they may share things with us. I hope none of us, drink from a cup. The wife drinks, and then we take it and rub it off, and then I hope none of us do those things, there is, no, there's not germs, so I'm trying to say this in a way that our youngsters can understand and it cannot be taken in the wrong way. There is barakah from taking, even from brother to brother, from brothers in masajid, sisters as well, like during Ramadan. There's barakah in drinking from your believing brother and sister. There's barakah in that. And there's barakah if one of us as brothers, let's say, especially in Ramadan's coming, we have one cup of water, one bottle of water, one brother drinks from that, one believing brother, or in the case of the sisters, from one sister to another sister, a believing sister, a mu'min drinks from that, and they offer it to us. It's from the bab of su'al adab, poor adab, that we take it and clean it. No, we take it, bismillah, and we drink from that barakah. Inshallah, shifa, tahara, it will be, inshallah ta'ala. The believers, yes, we have bacteria, but the believer has to also think about barakah, especially between husband and wife. The wife has barakah too. So much barakah. The husband has barakah too. So to drink from each other, let alone the concept of ithar, which is what's lacking here when she says, وَإِن شَرَبَ وَإِن شَرِبَ إِشْتَفَّ. When he drinks, he's not considerate. Not considerate at all. So the concept of ithar is very important. Ithar is preference. It's preference. That's what Rasulullah demonstrated. You first. You first. So even if you take the last bit, before you drink the last bit, honey, do you want any? Habibti, do you want the rest? No, I'm fine, take it. Khalas, bismillah. Or drink from it from barakah. I want to take from your barakah, inshallah. Just take a sip. Bismillah. And then drink. Bismillah. But don't drink and then leave the last little bit. And your wife is thirsty from hot days. You go to the refrigerator and pull out the juice and there's a drop in there. And subhanallah. When shariba shtafa, no consideration. Now, so compassion, intimacy, touch is very important, and the right kind of touch that sends the right kind of message, because the wrong touch can send the wrong message. So this is what she's alluding to. Now, قالت السابعة, the seventh one, said, زوجي عيايا وفي رواية غيايا. This is an old word. عيايا وفي رواية غيايا. My husband عيايا طبقا, she says. Zawji is ayaya, which means, and she used another word as well, tabaqa, which means that he doesn't speak well. So he has a speech problem. It could also mean that he speaks well, but she doesn't understand him at all. Right? Because of the way he speaks. Tabaqa means that he is very tough and rough with her when he deals with her. When they're close. So when they're close, when they're behaving as a husband and wife, and he comes into contact with her, he's very tabaqa, very rough, tough, caveman, Come here, rough, tough. He deals with her the wrong way, is the point. And she says, Kullu da'in lahu da'. Every single problem you can think of, he has it. Subhanallah. Miskina, poor lady. Subhanallah. Every illness, meaning any illness that's common that people know about, kullu da'in. Everything that people know about, lahu da'. He has it. Stuttering, he's got it. Cross-eyed, it's him. Forgetfulness, yes. All defects you can think of, she says, he has it. And then she ends her commentary. Shajjaki. Shajjaki. He either injures your face, or he wounds you, could be, but I'll translate it one way and then the other way. One way is shajjaki, he hits your face or abuses your face. Or he breaks a bone. Right, so he either leaves a wound or he breaks a bone. He leaves a mark externally, or he damages you externally, or he damages you internally. But either way, he's abusive. جَمَعَ كُلًّا لَكِ, or he combines both. This is a physically abusive relationship. That's what she's saying. She is a victim of domestic violence. I want to make it very clear that the Sharia in no way condones domestic violence. Let me be very clear about that. In no way, form or fashion does the Sharia accept or condone domestic violence. There is an ayah in the Quran which contains the word hit them. This ayah is the only ayah in the Quran that the Prophet ﷺ acted the opposite. Subhanallah. In other words, if you take any ayah in the Quran, you can connect a practice, a sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ with it. Isburu wa sabiru wa rabitu. There's hadith on that where the Prophet ﷺ showed, exempted, did something. Any ayah in the Quran, there's a hadith about it, about the Prophet ﷺ demonstrating how to do it. Irka'u wasjudu. Bow and prostrate. وَثِيَابَكَ فَطَهِّرْ. Clean your clothes. اقرأ بِاسْمِ رَبِّكَ يَا أَيُّهَا الْمُزَمِّلُ قُمْ فَأَنذِرْ. This tafsir, this hadith where the Prophet ﷺ did it like that. The commentary of the verse is the Prophet ﷺ acted like that, except the ayah which says, hid them. There is not one hadith where the Prophet ﷺ hit his wife, nor instructed anyone to do it, nor tolerated anyone to do it. The sunnah practice for that one ayah in the Quran is the opposite. We never practice the Quran without an example of the Prophet ﷺ to show us how to do it. In the case where the verse of the Quran, where Allah Ta'ala says, where Allah Ta'ala is advising the husband on what to do when there are domestic problems. فَعِذُوهُنَّ, Allah Ta'ala says, discourse with them and remind them and talk with them. Okay. Discuss with them. And then Allah Ta'ala says, separate yourselves. Take a break. Okay. Take a break. وَهْجُرُوهُنَّ فِي الْمَضَاجِعِ. Separate yourselves from intimacy. Take a break to remind each other of how much you mean to each other and how much you need each other. So that should be a motivation to rectify your situation and correct yourselves. وَضْرِبُوهُنَّ. Then Allah Ta'ala says, and then hit them. At that time, the Sahabas started, in some cases, not all of course, but there were some incidences where the men were hitting their wives from that ayah. And then their wives complained to the Prophet, said, Ya Rasulullah, our husbands are hitting us. And that's when the Prophet ﷺ went to Masjid Nabawi, went on the minbar, and he said, Bima yadribu ahadukum imra'ata. What gives you the right to hit your women? This is deep, because there's an ayah in Quran that's there. It says, hit them. And the Prophet ﷺ is then saying, what gives you that right? Darbul fahl, like they're an animal. وفي رواية, in another narration, Darbul abd, like they're some slave. ثم لعله يعانقها, and then you expect her to embrace you. That's the hadith. It's in Sahih Bukhari, in Kitab Nikah, in the chapter on marriage. You can find it. And then you expect intimacy. The Prophet ﷺ was very upset. The sunnah of that ayah is not to do it. That's very profound. Because the conditions for it to be done are so difficult to fulfill, it can't be done. In other words, when it came to drinking alcohol, the prohibition of alcohol became prohibited slowly and gradually in the Islamic history. Some of you know that history. Over time, there wasn't just an ayah that came one day and said, don't drink. It took several years and 3 different ayahs for alcohol to be phased out. Slavery. Slavery was never outright prohibited and outlawed in Islam. Allah Ta'ala used a different way to show that slavery is not a good thing. This is a social practice that should be phased out over time. By making freeing a slave the option and the solution for atonement for certain sins. So for different human problems, Allah Ta'ala dealt with prohibiting those actions in different ways. For killing, He said, "La taqtulu anfusakum," don't kill yourselves. Outright, don't do it. For zina, adultery, Allah Ta'ala didn't say don't do it. He said don't come close to it. La taqrabuha, la taqrabu zina. Don't approach it. He didn't say don't do it. Don't approach it means don't do it. But the method was different, is what I'm saying. With hitting a spouse in domestic violence, Allah Ta'ala chose not to say don't hit. He chose not to do that. Instead, He chose to say, if you're going to hit, do it in this order. And then it's used to solve a problem. Well, tell me and bring me a situation where hitting a wife solves a problem. Does it exist? It does not. Therefore, you can't use it. That's the point. That's the point. That's why the Prophet ﷺ never did it, spoke out against it, and condemned it. That's what condemned it. That's why. So it is not permissible to do that. It is not permissible to hit the wife. It is not permissible for a husband to quote, or for even a wife to quote. We've had cases in Islamic history where wives have beat their husbands too. I've read court cases, Sharia court cases in the Ottoman times. The husband took his wife to court because she beat him too much. I'm serious. So it is not permissible for a spouse to open up the Quran and say, see, Allah says, hit them, so I'm going to beat her until she falls. A'udhu billah. Violence doesn't solve anything. If violence doesn't solve political conflict, it's not going to solve domestic conflict. So this point, this woman here is highlighting is commenting on this, and the ulama say that this is the worst kind of, one of the worst kind of husbands, the husband that beats his wife. May Allah protect all of us and our daughters and our granddaughters and our wives and our mothers and our sisters from that. Ameen. قالت الثامنة, the 8th woman. Now we're coming down to 11. Now they shift. We've been hearing a lot of critiques. Now the 8th women are going to make all the other women, and the other women are going to make them feel bad now. قالت الثامنة. So it starts to get much better. زوجي, she says, my husband, المس مس أرنب. His touch is like a rabbit's touch. This can mean two things. Either when you touch him, he's as soft as a rabbit. That would be interesting given the desert conditions. Desert conditions, Sahara, it's tough. Or when he touches you, it's soft, gentle touch. وَالرِّيحُ رِيحُ زَرْنَبْ. And his scent is the scent of a flower. So his touch is a soft touch, or when he touches gently. And his scent, what he smells like, he has the rih, the scent, the smell of a flower. In other words, he always smells good. And we know the Prophet ﷺ, even his sweat was misk. ﷺ always had scent, beautiful scent. Our homes should smell good. As men, we should smell good. Even our young, we should teach our sons to smell good, and teach our daughters to smell good in the home and things of that nature, and encourage our wives to have perfume for us, in the home, etc. Those things are blessed, and you get barakah for putting a smile on the face of another believer. So if that smile comes because of a beautiful scent, you get barakah for that. Right? So this is what she says. قالت التاسعة, the 9th woman, she says, زوجي, my husband, Rafi'ul imad. Now she uses cryptic language. She says literally the imad, the poles of a tent. You know, when you build a tent, the tent has poles. She says the tent poles are rafi'a, they're high. What she's trying to say is her husband's a very tall man. Rafi' al-imad could also be a kinaya, a sort of a allegory and a reference for the fact that his nasab, his lineage, is very noble. His father, he comes from a good father and his good grandfather. In other words, his lineage is very rafi', is very esteemed and well known. Then she says, Azimur Rimad. Azimur Ramad. His ashes, the ashes in the fireplace or in the oven, are abundant. Now, what's she trying to say? The ashes in the fire or in the oven are just abundant. What's she saying? Not wealth. Ashes are from what? Ashes are from fire. The smaller the fire, the less ashes. The greater the fire, or the more the ashes, the greater the fire. So his ashes are abundant, are azim, are just great. Well, what do you get ashes from? A lot of fire. Well, why do you need fire in the desert? To cook food. So what's she saying about him? No, not eat. Not he eats a lot. He feeds others. He feeds others. He's kareem. He's generous. He's always cooking or feeding other people. So it's like saying the stove is always going. Tawilun nijad. Nijad is the case you put a sword in. So his sword case, his sword holder, is very tawil. It's long. Right? Here she's definitely saying he's a tall man. And then she says finally, qaribul bayti minan nad. Qaribul bayt minan nad. That the house, his house is always close to those that are on the road. What's the translation I had? I forgot how it translates. Huh? No, the translation at the end. He's always welcoming to other people. That's a better translation now. His home is always welcoming. Qarib. Qarib is close to. The bayt is qarib. The house is qarib to the nad. Nad, groups and travelers, guests. Yeah. So anyone who's coming into town, people that are traveling together in groups, they always know that if they're hungry, they can come to her husband's house. Generosity. Karam is the point here. He comes from a noble family that has received a lot, and this man gives back a lot. And he gives so much that it's his house is known in the community as a house that is available for anybody. My father-in-law's house was like that, rahimahullah. My father-in-law's house, you come to my father-in-law's house, you wake up in the morning, like 7 o'clock in the morning, the front door is wide open. Wide open. Father-in-law gets up, sits in the big living room, waits for anybody to come in. All day long he's there. Just wait for daif, guests. My mother-in-law's house is not one kitchen, 3 kitchens. SubhanAllah. Had 2 kitchens, it wasn't enough. All day long, my sister-in-laws and niece-in-laws and everybody, all day long in the kitchen, washing dishes, preparing food, go in the backyard, get fresh chicken and turkey and rice and fresh bread, just wait for people to come. People come all day in a shift, just come and consult and sit and eat, and strangers and wayfarers and bystanders just come in and, oh, you're hungry, go to Beit so-and-so. In the village in Egypt. Karam. Karam, generosity, is one of the most beloved sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is also a sifat of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ was the most kareem of all of the Sahabas. He gave more than anyone else. At all levels, not just financially, at all levels. And when he didn't have, he still wanted to give. He gave himself. He fasted, etc. And many of the Sahabas would not receive until they gave something. Hatta Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, whenever she received something, whenever she received any gift, she would never keep it for herself. It would stay for a little while, and then she would give that item as a gift to someone else. So this concept of karam is such that you want to compete, or this man, he wants to compete in acts of khayr. فَاسْتَبِقُوا الْخَيْرَاتِ, Allah Ta'ala says. Beautiful sifat. The 10th lady, we'll wrap up a little bit. قالت العاشرة, the 10th lady, she says, زوجي, my husband, Malik, is Malik. So she tells his name now. This is the first time this happened. My husband is Malik. And then she says, وَمَا مَالِك. Like, وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ, وَمَا مَالِك. How can I explain to you who Malik is? Now she's got everybody upset. وَمَا مَالِك. So everyone starts thinking now. Then she says, Malik khayrun min dhalik. Whatever comes to your mind, Malik is better than that. Well, now they want to kick her out. Khalas. Khalas, you go with your Malik before you become Malik. Okay. She says, Malik is better than that, meaning any sifat, any beautiful ideas that come to your head. She says, Lahu iblun kathiratul mabarik. He's got multiple or so many camel stables. So imagine a wife's describing her husband, and she says, she doesn't say he's wealthy, or he's got a lot of money, or he has a nice car. She says, he's got multiple car garages. Right? That would do it for you. That would say, what kind of house does he have? And he's got multiple car garages. Lahu iblun kathirat al-mabarik. He's got camels that have multiple stables. But, so that means he's got a lot of camels. But paradoxically, qalilatul masarih. But when they go out to eat, when they go out to graze, all of those camels become qalil. They become small in number. Why? إِذَا سَمِعْنَا صَوْتَ الْمِزْهَرِ. Because when those camels hear, remember the story, this happens in Jahiliyyah, okay? Before Islam, she's talking. When the camels hear the musical instruments play, the mizhar is the instrument, the sawt, when the camels hear the entertainment in the house going on, this is what she's saying. أَيْقَنَّ أَنَّهُنَّ هَوَالِكَ. The camels know 100% that they're dead. Hawalik. So her husband Malik is so generous, even the animals know how generous he is. The camels know, khalas, when the music is playing, the guests are there, we know hawalik, we know our days are up. Our master just took us out to eat, so we know we're going to be qaleel, we know we're going to be, we were 100, now we're going to be 10. Because our master is so generous, he will sacrifice us for his guests. So now we get into what happens is now there's a competition in karam, in generosity. So in the first case, the first husband, he fed a lot of people. Malik feeds a lot of people too, but his generosity transcends objects. The ashes. The ashes know how generous the other guy was. Here the camels know. Right? So that's a different level. When your animals know that and the environment knows that you're going to sacrifice for your guest. Finally, alhamdulillah. قالت الحادية عشر, the 11th woman. She is the last one. The 11th woman. And her name, by the way, is Zara, the lady from the hadith. The hadith is named after. Zawji, my husband, Abu Zara. His name is Abu Zara. Wama Abu Zara. It's like copycat, you know. And who is Abu Zara? You know. He's not Malik. She says, to describe Abu Zara, remember, Aisha is telling this to the Prophet ﷺ, he's listening. أناس من حلي أذني. My ears moved because of the jewelry he put on them. What does that mean? What kind of jewelry? Heavy jewelry. It's not fake. Heavy jewelry. So her ears moved, swayed from the jewelry he put on it, right? وَمَلَأَ مِنْ شَحْمٍ عُضُدَيَّ. And my arms got fat because he fed me so good. وَبَجَحَنِي. And he loved me deeply. فَبَجَحَتْ نَفْسِي إِلَيَّ. Allah. And he loved me so deeply that I learned to love myself. Ya salam. Ya salam. La ilaha illallah. Think about that. That's hub. But bajaha is profound, deep, passionate, profound love. He loved me so much that I learned to love myself. Unbelievable. وجدني في أهل هنيمة بشقة. He found me in the most difficult of conditions of poverty and hardship. He found me in that condition. فجعلني في أهل صهيل وأطيت ودائس ومنق. Oh, old words. And he brought me to luxury, essentially is what she's saying. And the literal translation you have there is, I was in a place of different kinds of animals. I'd never seen these things before. Yani luxury and comfort. فعنده, when I'm with him, in his presence, أقول فلا أقبح. When I'm with him, I can speak my mind and I'm not made to feel ashamed of myself. Let's keep this in mind. The Prophet ﷺ is going to comment on this. I can speak my mind and I'm not made to feel ugly. He doesn't make me feel ugly. وأرقد فأتصبح. And I can sleep and wake up late. In other words, he doesn't wake her up to serve him. Wake up, breakfast time. He doesn't do those things. وأشرب فأتقمح. And I can drink my fill. I can feel comfortable. Then she says, Abi Zara, my mother-in-law, the mother of Abu Zara. فما Abi Zara. How can I describe the mother of Abu Zara? This is really deep because many relationships have problems because of the mother-in-law. In many cases. Rarely because of the father-in-law, sometimes. But in many cases, it's the mother-in-law. So she says, رُكُومُهَا رَدَاحٍ. Her pots that she cooks with, her pots are huge. What does that mean? That she what? She serves a lot of people. Khidmah. وَبَيْتُهَا فَسَاحٍ. And her home is open and it's spacious and open for anybody. So she's giving. She doesn't take, she gives. Ibn Abi Zara, the son of Abu Zara. فَمَا Ibn Abi Zara. How can I explain to you who the son of Abu Zara is? مَضْجَعُهُ كَمَسِلٍ شَطَبَ. His bed is soft palm leaves. sealy, postured, thick mattress, comfortable bed. وَتُشْبِعُهُ ذِرَاءُ الْجَفْرَةِ. And he always gets full off of a leg of lamb. That's his son. That's how he treats his son. Makes him sleep comfortable, feeds him the best food. Bint Abi Zara, the daughter of Abu Zara. Fama bint Abi Zara. How can I explain to you who the daughter of Abu Zara is? طوع أبيها. She obeys her dad. She obeys her father. That's the sharaf of a daughter, that she is ever devoted and obedient to her father. وَطَوْعُ أُمِّهَا. And she's ever obedient to her mother as well. وَمِلْءُ كِسَائِهَا وَغَيْثُ جَارِيَتِهَا. And she's sort of plump and healthy woman, and she's the envy of her co-wife, her other wives. She's the envy. How did I translate this in the text? Object of jealousy of others, meaning the neighbors as well. Jariyatu Abi Zara, this house servant, right? The house servant of Abu Zara. Fama Jariyatu Abi Zara. And how can I explain to you who the house servant of Abu Zara is? لا تبث حديثنا تبثيثا. She doesn't spread what goes on in the house. The house servant doesn't spread what goes on in the house. ولا تنقثوا ميرتنا تنقيثا. تنقيثا. And she doesn't steal. She doesn't steal food. وَلَا تَمْلَأُوا بَيْتَنَا تَعْشِيشًا. And she doesn't allow bugs and animals to get in. Bugs and animals has two meanings. One, she doesn't destroy the house with gossip. Right. One. And two, that the house is clean. That she doesn't allow vermin to get in and destroy the house. And then she concludes. She says, قالت, and this is the end of the hadith. Inshallah, then we'll pray. قالت, she says, Zara, خرج أبو زرع والأوطاب تمخص. So Abu Zara left the house one day and he went to go take care of some business and get some milk. فلقي امرأة معها ولدان. And so he came across this woman who had two young children. يلعبان من تحت حضرها. And they were playing about, etc. And this lady was having trouble with these two kids. فطلقني. So he divorced me ونكحها. And he married this lady to take care of her. فنكحت بعده رجلا سريا. And I myself, I remarried. And I married a good man, a noble man, who ركب شريا, who was good and had he was good in hunting and fishing as well. And he cast on me وراح علي نعما ثريا. And he cast on me all kinds of good things and benefits and delights. نعم. وأعطاني من كل رائحة زوجا. And he gave me pairs of every good thing. He gave me all kinds of good things. This is the new husband. وقال, and he used to tell me, كُلِي Zara, eat and take and benefit Zara, enjoy yourself. وَمِيرِ أَهْلِكَ, and also let your family enjoy this as well. Don't just keep it for yourself, Zara. Give it to your mom and your dad and your family, share with them. And then she says, فَلَوْ جَمَعْتُ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ أَعْطَانِيهِ. If I were to take everything that this husband gave me and gather it together, if I were to take everything, ما بلغ أصغر آنية أبي زرع, that would not fill the smallest thing that Abu Zara gave me. If I were to take everything this new husband gave me it wouldn't fill the smallest container from Abu Zara. قالت عائشة رضي الله تعالى عنها. Then Aisha, this is the end of the story, she finishes the story. Aisha رضي الله تعالى عنها said, فقال لي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Then the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم turned to me and said, he said to me, كنت لك كأبي زرع لأم زرع. Allah. I am to you what Abu Zara was to Zara. That's how I am to you. رواه Bukhari ومسلم وترمذي. So, what is the conclusion? All of those beautiful traits, the ulama say of hadith, because we need to do Isha, we'll do Isha. All of the beautiful sifat that Abu Zara was to Zara are the same level, the same rutbah of beautiful characteristics that the Prophet ﷺ showed to his wife. Which is why this hadith is taught. Except the part of Abu Zara leaving Zara and remarrying. Except for that part, obviously. But outside of that, the text of the relationship and the story of Zara and Abu Zara is instructive to teach us how we must impact our spouses, how we have to change their lives. We should be agents of positive change in the lives of our spouses, such that when they come to us, when they are with us, they are better because they are with us. Not the fact they're worse when they're with us and they're better off without us. So I hope, inshallah ta'ala, as we conclude, you take this hadith, you think about it, and the positive, beautiful sifat that are in this hadith, we make a commitment to try to embody those things to the best of our ability. And we try to live up to the standards of Abu Zara in the way that he was with Zara, because that's what the Prophet ﷺ was, that's the way he was with Aisha radiallahu ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect all of us and save our families. I hope this teaches us that family matters. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala endow us with the sifat of Abu Zara, the positive, beautiful things, and the sifat of the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, whose sifat were actually better than the sifat of Abu Zara. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Adhan, please, inshallah.